Hello, my friend. Welcome to your sleep story. My name is Stephen Dalton. I'm an Irish storyteller, and it's my great privilege to be the voice that you listen to as you go to sleep tonight. I don't know about you, but when I was little, I loved to hear a bedtime story. And so tonight, I'll start a new series in which grandparents share stories with their grandchildren as they tuck them into their cozy beds. Tonight, it's a story of mystery and love, set on an Irish island. It's one I really enjoyed writing, and I hope you like it. And just one small thing, I'd like to thank those of you who support my work on Patreon, and if you'd like to become a patron, you can find the link below this video. Okay, let's do the relaxation session now, which will take a few minutes before tonight's sleep story. I'm going to count down from 10 to 1, and as I do, allow yourself to let go more and more. 10. Feel the support of the bed beneath you, or the floor, and beneath that, the earth, the support of the earth, our home, our constant support. And as you feel that support, allow a gentle easing to take place, a gentle letting go. Really feel that you are supported in this moment. Let go a little more. 9. Feel into your body now. Notice where you are still holding. Maybe in your feet. Maybe in your hands. Maybe in your belly. Maybe in your face. And again, just allowing everything to let go now. There's no reason to hold on. Your body has worked hard for you today. It's time to allow it to have the rest that it deserves. 8. You are safe. Allow my voice to be an anchor of safety tonight, to be a friend that will only ever take you to safe places. Allow that fact to enable you to let go a little more now. 7. The day is done. Whatever has been, has been. Whatever will be, will be. So whatever thoughts might be arriving tonight, perhaps about the past, perhaps about the future, don't fight them, but don't follow them either. They are a symptom of being a human, so allow them to arrive. See them for what they are, and then simply watch them float away, like leaves on a moonlit river, or clouds passing by through a starlit sky. Six. Peace lives within you. It is always there. It is always waiting to be seen, to be felt. So tonight, see if you can find that peace that you so richly deserve. Five. You deserve rest. We all do. This is your time. Your time to let go. Your time to enter into another world. A world of sleep. A world of peace. You deserve this moment. Enjoy this moment. Enjoy the fact that you can listen to my voice as you move closer and closer towards sleep. 4. Perhaps allow yourself to feel a little gratitude now. Gratitude for the ability to go to sleep tonight. Gratitude for the simple things. The shelter you have. Your mind and body. The ones you love or have loved, and the ones that love you or have loved you. 3. Begin to engage with your imagination now. Begin to see a cozy, softly lit bedroom and a kind old grandfather and his 2 little granddaughters settling in, ready for the sharing of stories and the sharing of family love and kindness and coziness. 2. Checking in with your body one more time now. Making sure you're not holding on anywhere. Finding the release. 1. Completely letting go now, as I tell you tonight's sleep story. The bedroom was a warm cocoon of soft light and comforting shadows, cast by a small lamp perched on a sturdy wooden dresser. The walls were adorned with old family photographs and hand-drawn pictures by the children. Two little girls, Anna and Elizabeth, were nestled under thick patchwork quilts, their eyes wide with the anticipation of their grandfather's stories. The air was tinged with the faint scent of lavender from the linens, blending soothingly with the salty sounds of the sea breeze that slipped through the slightly ajar window. Grandfather, with his silvery hair and wrinkles, mapping out years of smiles and wisdom, moved about the room with a gentle deliberation. He pulled up a well-worn rocking chair beside the girls' beds, the floorboards creaking softly under its weight. His hands, still strong, yet lined with age, carefully tucked the edges of the quilts around Anna and Elizabeth, ensuring the outside world couldn't disturb their cozy nest. With everyone settled, he paused and looked out the window, where the moon shone beautifully upon the distant waves. He then turned back to the girls, his eyes twinkling in the lamplight. "Now, are you both snuggled in tight?" he asked in his deep, gravelly voice that seemed to bring magic into the air. The girls nodded eagerly, clutching their teddy bears closer. This was their favorite part of the day, or should I say, night. Grandfather sat back in the chair and looked into the distance, as if recalling something very clear in his mind. "Long ago, long before you two came into the world, when I was a very, very young man, I lived on a small island off the west coast of here," he began, his voice a soft lull to their eager ears. Ireland in those days was a place where the grass was greener than anywhere else in the world, and the sea sang to us every morning and every night. Everyone knew everyone, and no one was a stranger for long. He smiled, lost for a moment in the reverie of his memories. The days were filled with simple joys, helping with the boats, listening to the elders tell stories, and playing games that lasted until the sun dipped below the horizon. It was a world of laughter and kindness, where every moment was about community and caring. His words painted a vivid picture, pulling the room into a time and place that felt far from today, a world brimming with the treasures of togetherness and tranquility. One morning on the island, I awoke to a sky swathed in heavy grey clouds that loomed over the island. A storm was coming, to be sure. The wind was a fierce companion, whistling around our cottage, through the small gaps in the windows that hadn't quite been sealed against the season. The roar of the sea was louder than usual, and I dressed hurriedly in the dim morning light, pulling on my thickest sweater and a well-worn woolen coat that had shielded me from many winters past. Its familiar weight seemed a comfort against the day's chill. Stepping outside, I tended to the chickens, who were perturbed by the wind, their usual clucking a little hurried. I scattered their feed, my fingers stinging a bit from the cold, and paused to watch the sea. It churned wildly, a vast canvas of dark waves and frothy white caps, but despite the stormy weather, I felt cozy and safe. I always did in my island home, and after all, it was part of life here. So, after ensuring the animals were secure, I ventured through our small village. The path was a familiar one, lined with stone cottages that clustered close, as if for warmth against the coming storm. Smoke rose in wispy tendrils from chimneys, blending with the low clouds. People burning turf to stay warm inside. I exchanged nods and tight-lipped smiles with my neighbors, who were busy securing the shutters and reinforcing their doors. Their movements were quick and efficient. A dance we all knew well, choreographed by the rhythm of island life and a deep respect for the sea's unpredictable moods. Leaving the village behind, I followed the rugged path that led to the cliffs. The way was marked by fields where sheep huddled against the biting wind, their wool heavy with moisture. The wildflowers along the path were bowed under the weight of raindrops, their vibrant colours dulled but stubborn against the grey. My boots sank into the muddy earth as I walked, the wind incessant at my back, urging me onward. It was on this path, with the storm brewing both above and within me, that my life would unknowingly shift course forever. Now you might be wondering, why would you be walking around in a storm and not cozy inside? Well, the storm was a way off yet, and I had a hobby. I had a camera with me, and I loved to take photographs of the sea just before a storm. So there I was, with my trusty old camera, photographing the world around me, taking in the different shapes and colors, capturing the light that is so unique in a moment like this, seeing the clouds through the lens, and how, when you look at them through the lens, they take on a different beauty, something altogether different, but just as magical. They become art. And it was during taking these photographs that I noticed down the hill, near the beach, a small group gathered around someone or something. My curiosity piqued. I made my way toward the beach, each step careful and measured against the slippery path. And as I drew closer, I could see figures braced against the wind, their coats flapping wildly. I knew all of them, all locals. But the person they were centered around was not a local. She was wrapped in a sodden coat and had a mop of dark, drenched hair that obscured her face. My fellow villagers worked to shield her from the wind, offering cloaks and scarves to ward off the chill. And then I saw her. Her face was pale, almost blending with the mist that hung around us. I felt a pull, an almost immediate, unspoken connection. This need to look after this person. Though we were yet to exchange words, the moment was brief, the mystery deepening as the crowd began to move, escorting her away from the beach toward the safety of the village. Days melded into one another as the storm eventually spent its fury and withdrew, leaving behind a cleansed sky and a calm sea. The island returned to its quieter rhythm, the drama of the storm. Now just another tale for the locals to recount. Yet, amidst this return to normalcy, the presence of the mysterious girl added a silent ripple of curiosity through the village. I saw her often after that day at the cliff. She moved with a hesitant grace through the streets of our village, always wrapped in the same thick shawl, regardless of the weather. Her hair, which I had first seen as a dark, wet tangle, was now usually pinned back, revealing more of what seemed to be a very lovely face. She seemed to be recovering, gaining strength each day, but there was a solitude, a loneliness about her. From a distance, I noticed small things. The way she would greet others in the street, going in and out of the shops, or how she often stood by the harbour, watching the boats gently sway with the tide. There was a quietness about her, a sort of lingering observation that matched my own. She seemed to be curious about the world around her. We exchanged glances sometimes, fleeting and laden with unspoken questions. Her eyes were a clear, striking blue, reminiscent of the sky just after a storm. One afternoon, I noticed her sitting by the stone wall that lined the meadow leading to the cliffs. She was sketching, her fingers deftly moving over the paper, capturing the wild beauty of the seascape. She appreciated the world around her and liked to draw it, like I liked to photograph it. Her concentration was palpable, and I found myself admiring the serene focus she brought to her task. I began to look forward to these glimpses of her, these silent confirmations of her integration into the fabric of our daily lives. Yet we never approached one another, nor did we speak. Call it awkward youthfulness, I suppose. This silent acknowledgement continued, and with each sighting, my curiosity grew. Who was she? What had brought her to our shores in such a dramatic fashion? The village buzzed with rumours and speculation, but I preferred the quiet mystery, the slow unveiling of her character through simple observation. It was as if the storm had washed her into our lives, and now we were all in some way connected to her. Family, if you like, waiting to see the role that she would come to play in our now intertwined narratives. Then, one crisp morning, as winter began to show its arrival on the island, our paths finally crossed in a manner that could no longer be left to silent glances and distant admiration. It was at the village well, a place as old as the stories told on our island, where people gathered daily, drawing water and exchanging news. I had just filled my buckets, the cold biting at my hands, when I saw her approaching. She moved with her usual quiet grace, her shawl wrapped tightly around her against the chill. It was just me and her there. And as she reached the well, her bucket swung lightly from her hand, and our eyes met. It wasn't like the other times. This was closer, more immediate, and laden with an unspoken recognition of the many times we had noticed each other before. "Good morning," I found myself saying, the words escaping into the space between us before I could think better of them. Her reaction was one of slight surprise, quickly masked by a tentative smile. "Good morning," she replied, her voice softer than I had imagined. "I see you around often," I continued, emboldened by her response. "I hope the island is treating you well." It was a simple gesture, an opening for her to retreat or engage, and I held my breath, waiting for her cue. She looked down briefly, then back at me, her eyes holding mine. "It is a beautiful place," she said, "so different from what I'm used to. But yes, it's treating me well, thanks to the kindness of the people here." She spoke with a foreign accent, a voice of a place far from here. To the north, I thought, and her response was an invitation. A door slightly ajar to more conversation, and I took it gladly. We spoke then of simple things, the weather, which had turned from the fierce storms of autumn to the serene chill of early winter, and the sea, ever present and ever changing. It was a conversation marked by the hesitant enthusiasm of new acquaintance, filled with the pauses of unfamiliarity, but promising beginnings. As we parted, with promises to speak again, the air seemed less cold, the day brighter. A connection had been made. and our lives would never be the same again. As the winter deepened, so too did our acquaintance, transforming gradually into a warm friendship that brightened the chillest of days. Soon we found ourselves seeking each other's company with a pleasant regularity, drawn together by a mutual appreciation for the island's quiet beauty and the warmth of shared stories. One rainy evening, as we sat in the local inn beside a crackling fire, the place was softly lit, the flames casting dancing shadows on the walls, and all around us the murmurs of other patrons blended into a comforting backdrop. She began to share tales of her life before the island. She was indeed from a far-off place. Scandinavia, she said. She had been sailing, solo, following in the footsteps of her ancestors, the Vikings. She had wanted to see what it would be like to sail the seas that they did. But on her own, how impressive she was. I shared stories of the sea, of the generations of fishermen in my family, and the legends, the great Irish legends, that seemed as much a part of the island as the rocks and tide. And as we sat there, the fire's warmth enveloping us, something remarkable happened. It was not just the sharing of pasts, but the creation of a present, a beautiful, delicate present, where laughter came easily, and silences spoke as loudly as words. We began to collaborate then on little projects. First, a small book of her sketches and my photographs. We even wrote in the book little stories, sharing our love for the island. We organized evenings of storytelling for the children in the village, where her gentle voice would bring to life tales of distant lands, while I would spin yarns of the sea's mysteries and the adventures of those who dared to navigate her depths. Together, we helped mend old nets and sails with the elders, learning from their seasoned hands and listening to their salt-weathered wisdom. And as the seasons turned once more, and the bite of frost gave way to spring, it became clear that what had started as a chance encounter had blossomed into something profound. We had not only found companionship in each other, but had become a part of each other's stories. We spent our days simply enjoying each other's company and the quiet life of the island. We'd talk for hours, and during the day we often walked along the shore, watching the boats and the gulls, and talking about everything and nothing at all. It was easy and comfortable. The simple joy of being together. And then summer came, and the longer days and warmer weather brought a new lightness to our spirits, and our friendship began to deepen into something more. It happened naturally, without fanfare, just a realization that the happiness we found in each other's company was something neither of us wanted to be without. One evening, as the sun was setting in a spectacular display over the ocean, I took her hand as we walked along the beach. The sand was warm under our feet, and I turned to her, and I saw the sunset reflected in her eyes. And in that moment, I knew I wanted to spend all my sunsets with her. And without a grand speech, I asked her if she felt the same. And her smile was all the answer I needed. Our engagement was a simple affair, announced at one of the community dinners. The villagers, who had watched our love story unfold, were thrilled. They offered to help with the wedding, making it a true community event. Someone offered to bake the cake, another to decorate the village hall. It felt right that our union would be celebrated in this way, surrounded by the people and the place that had brought us together. The wedding day was as simple and beautiful as our life together had been. She wore a dress one of the local seamstresses had made, and I had never seen her look more beautiful. We exchanged vows by the cliffs where I had first seen her, and it was a joyful celebration, filled with music and laughter and dancing that lasted well into the night. And sure, married life on the island was a continuation of our days spent together. But now, there was a deeper joy in our shared life. Each morning, we woke up to the sound of the sea, and each night, we fell asleep to its lullabies. And our love, which had started so simply, grew deeper and deeper with each passing day. Eventually, we moved to the mainland, and we had children of our own. And then they had children of their own, and we all lived happily ever after. As grandfather finished sharing his story, his voice softened, and he looked over at Anna and Elizabeth with a gentle smile. And that woman, that lovely girl who came to our island by the hand of fate, was of course your grandmother, Astrid, who I love to this day as much as I did that day on the beach when I asked her to marry me. The room seemed to grow even cozier as the girls processed this connection. Their grandmother, Astrid, whom they knew as the kind lady with the warm laugh and the endless supply of cookies, was the beautiful young girl in this wonderful tale. They looked at each other, their eyes wide with wonder and a new appreciation for the story they had just heard. "Grandma Astrid?" Anna asked, her voice a mix of surprise and delight. "Yes," grandfather nodded, his smile deepening. "She was the most wonderful person I had ever met. All those walks by the shore, the evenings by the fire, the simple joys of everyday life, it was all with her. And when we got married, right there by the cliffs, it was the happiest day of my life." Elizabeth snuggled deeper into her quilt and looked up at her grandfather. "And you never told us this story before?" Grandfather chuckled softly, the sound echoing slightly in the quiet room. "I suppose I was waiting for the right moment. I wanted you to know how you two came to be. And remember, every time you see the sea, think of it as a reminder of your grandmother Astrid's journey to that island, and how deeply she loved the place. The girls nodded. A new sense of history and magic filling their hearts, and as they drifted off to sleep, dreams of cliffs and oceans and love stories filled their minds, and they had a deeper understanding of where they came from, a magical island on the west coast of Ireland. Once they were fast asleep, Grandfather dimmed the light, kissed them both on their foreheads, and gently tiptoed out of the room and climbed into his cozy bed next to his beloved wife, Astrid. They smiled a knowing smile at each other, and both of them fell into a comfortable, deep sleep. Just another joyous sleep of many shared together.